Hi, I'm Jill Brotman with APPRAISAL. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I am going to be visiting with Jason Goldberg. Jason is one of the founders and he is the COO of Valucentric. Valucentric is a W-2 staff appraisal firm completing appraisals throughout the United States. Jason's been an Illinois certified residential appraiser since 2004. And I was introduced to Jason because as agents, we are often, faced with needing an appraisal. Sometimes I might want to get an appraisal before I list a property if I have some questions about its value, and it's very helpful to get an appraisal pre-listing. And when I spoke with Jason, I found him to be my kind of guy in that he was a very, very careful listener. He was very easy to communicate. He returned calls very quickly. All these things are very important to me in my evaluation of who I like to surround myself with on my A team. So at this time, I am going to introduce Jason. And my first question to Jason is, during this COVID-19 pandemic, Jason, how are appraisals being completed?
Very carefully, actually, I guess would be the short answer. But the long answer is a lot of different things have happened in the past. This has only been 50, 60 days, and we've made a lot of changes. The first thing that happened was FHFA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac granted flexibilities to a lot of the lenders to make it easier for us to complete real estate appraisals during this situation. What essentially is happening is when we have an appraisal for purchase, and if it qualifies, we will be allowed to do a desktop appraisal, which means we will not have to go in and expose anybody to anything or even drive by the property. We will use the photos from the MLS, possibly from the seller themselves, from the realtor themselves, to complete the valuation and then obviously submit to the lender. That does not mean and should not mean that we are not in contact with the agent, which is still a very important piece of actually being able to complete an appraisal. So even though we're doing it from our desktop, we are still making the necessary phone calls to find out information about the property, how it was listed, how it went under contract, updates and things of that nature. There are also still scenarios in which some homes do not qualify for a desktop appraisal. So we are still completing traditional appraisals. One of the things that we're asking each and every person that we're coming into contact with is, when we come to your home, if we are going to have to enter, we are going to need you to turn on all the lights. We need you to open up all the doors, open up the fence, open up the garage, and our appraisal staff will be wearing as much PPE as we can get a hold of. In other words, basically we can get gloves, we can get the regular face masks, and in some cases we're able to get booties. And then we obviously ask, please keep within the normal 6-foot distance, which is being recommended by everybody else. We will do literally touch as bare minimum as possible and get in and out of the property as fast as possible as we need to collect the data and information. And in that particular case, it's actually been relatively surprising. Homeowners, for the most part, have been very gracious, understanding. They still want us to come through. They understand the precautions, and it's actually worked out. We do have people who have said no, which is fine. But for the most part, people have been very accommodating on both sides, the appraisers and the potential person who's selling, refinancing, borrowing, whatever it may be.
Excellent, thank you. What effect do you think that the COVID-19 pandemic will potentially have on home values, Jason?
Well, the real answer is we don't know, because if both of us knew, we'd be able to buy right and sell higher. So we really don't know what will happen. In the short term, in this last 50 or 60 days, we're actually relatively surprised. We're still seeing really good market activity. Me and my partners from here in Illinois and around the country, we were thinking at the very beginning that homeowners, home sales would literally go to zero, but that's not the case. We are still seeing purchases come over every single day. We're still seeing good transactions, and not contracts that were signed pre-middle of March. We're seeing contracts that are from middle of April. And in some cases, even in May. So we're actually very encouraged by that, which means there's some sort of demand that remains strong. Of course, one of the things that could potentially be happening is there's a little bit of a shortage of supply, as we know that there are a lot of people out there that are nervous and don't want to actually list their home at this property for various reasons. Perhaps they feel their job is in jeopardy. Maybe they're nervous about actually contracting the virus, and they're sitting and waiting. But either way, there has been good activity. We are definitely seeing more phone calls, like you noted earlier about the pre-listings. We do a lot of that stuff. A lot comes from people at properties and agents just like yourself. We're seeing much more activity in the suburbs, phone calls about properties in the suburbs, than we are in the city. However, we don't have hard data that suggests that we're seeing a mass migration, but typically it would be 50-50 for us. Either way, we're encouraged. We are encouraged, and we feel a lot better today than we did March 18th.
Excellent. And I can just say, speaking from my perspective, and I'm a little bit closer to the market in terms of speaking with sellers before you're going to come in contact with them, unless they're doing a pre-listing agreement or a pre-listing appraisal. There is a pretty big pent-up demand. A lot of buyers are looking and not necessarily having a lot to look at right now. And that is, it is becoming a little problematic, although the last few days there have been a lot more homes that have come on the market.
That's great.
Especially trying to educate sellers and let them know that we can do absolutely the entire transaction, from a pre-listing agreement all the way to giving the buyer the keys. We can do everything virtually. Just like you and I are doing this Zoom call. Yep. We are doing, listing appointments by Zoom. We're doing, everything really. And, online, we were doing so much prior to that with DocuSign, et cetera. So the industry is definitely pivoting and making those adjustments that we need to make, but definitely need to get more houses on the market.
The good thing is we felt like in January and February, and we've talked, me and you personally, before all this happened, that the selling season was going to not be good. It was going to be great. And so we were amping up for this large selling season, and it appears that there still is that demand, that there's still buyers out there. We just need the sellers to come back into the market. And hopefully that happens over the next, here in Illinois, when we finally get out of lockdown, whether that's June 1st or June 15th or whatever it may be, we see that it could very well be one of the busiest summers on record. Let's hope.
Yeah, exactly. Summer and fall.
Yes.
Jason, last question for you. Any changes on the horizon for appraisals? Actually,
there is going to be a lot of stuff happening over the course of 12 to 24 months. These are things that were put in place prior to obviously the COVID situation, and we're continuing to work on them. Two big things: bifurcation, which is essentially two or more people working on the same appraisal assignment at various different points in times. Most firms and most appraisers at this point, they get an assignment, they go out and they look at the house, they come back, they write it up, and they send it into the lender. But that's going to be changing. And it's going to be changing because the lenders are going to want to see a significant amount of more data within the appraisal reports, and not just the data that we're collecting from the subject property, but the comparables as well. In the coming future, you're not just going to see aggregate quality and condition adjustments. We're going to be breaking down the components of a home. What is the roof? What is the windows? What is the kitchen? What is the floors? We can be able to literally discuss the level of every bathroom in the home. Is the master updated? Is the hall updated? Is it just the powder room updated? These are things that we can't do on the report. And as we're doing that for the subject, we're also going to have to do that to the comparables. So a lot more data is going to be collected, which ultimately means we're going to be able to make better mathematically derived adjustments, which will hopefully lead to a better opinion of value and a better process all the way around. We're excited about it. We can't wait for some of these things to start. We're excited about hopefully getting out of lockdown and seeing more and more transactions happen. And we're excited about being part of your team. So thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you. And I'm really happy to hear about those changes because, as you know, I meet all of my appraisers at the appraisal, at least I did pre-COVID, because I like to, this isn't the case with your company, but with many lenders, banks, bigger banks, that are in the lending business, they're calling appraisers that might not necessarily be familiar with the area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to be at that appraisal to show them exact comps, same school district, and all of the supplemental photos that come out of the MLS so that I can show the difference on the interior. And, I don't know that the appraiser has necessarily done their homework. So I like to
Mm-hmm.
be there and
Mm-hmm.
provide all of that other additional information to make sure that we appraise out. So that is music to my ears that the
Yep.
industry is going to change.
Yep. And I cannot agree with you more. You should always meet the appraiser at the property.
Yep.
Always.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much for your time.
Oh, no problem.
Jason.
Anytime.
Thank you. And if you would like to reach out to Jason yourself, Jason can be reached at jason@valucentric.com. I'll spell that for you. Jason at V as in Victor, ALUCENTRIC.com. Or you can also call him at 847-480-2308. And Jason will be happy to answer your questions. And again, Jason, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely. Next time over coffee, for real.
Yeah, sounds great. If I can be of any help with your real estate needs, please feel free to call me, Jill Brotman, at 847-814-0333, or my email is jillbrotman@approprisaal.com. Thank you and have a great day.